Hello friends, I'm Neeraj for the day. Welcome back to another tutorial on ISTQB Advanced Level Test Analyst Certification. We are done with the final chapter, that is chapter 5, Software Defect Prevention, and have covered all the topics related to it. And today we shall be looking at some of the sample questions from this particular chapter, trying to get some insights about what can be expected in the examination from software defect prevention. Well, being this chapter is a little small and very to the point in terms of static testing and understanding how the defect can be classified, prevented from reoccurring, or what exactly can help us identify defects early in the life cycle. Thus, there will be very straightforward questions. However, the trickiness of ISTQB can always be added, making sure that we are drilled down during the examination to make sure that we apply our skills and knowledge respectfully, okay, or respectively. And that is where we bring some questions to you as a part of this tutorial to give you some insights about what can be expected. So the very first question right here is to talk about the models, which we discussed as our first part of discussion. So the question says, or a system that allocates discounts on purchases, the following two business rules are applicable. First rule number one, customer with a loyalty card or whose last purchase was at least $1,000 will receive a 10% discount. So we have two conditions here, if you pay attention to, but it's an or condition, not and. So either you have a loyalty card or your last purchase was at least $1,000, then on your next shopping, you will have 10% discount. And third option is that is otherwise, they will receive a 5% discount if they subscribe to the newsletter. So to be frank, there are three conditions to get some discounts. Two gives you 10% and another gives you 5%. But also to say, if a customer has not signed up for any kind of newsletter or not even done any other thing like, spending $1,000 or 10% discount, etc., then the customer is not liable to get any kind of discount. And on the right-hand side, we also have a table representing that. For example, rule 1, if you only have loyalty card but no other options, I get 10% still. Rule number 2, if you have spent $1,000 or more, but you don't have a loyalty card, you are not subscribed to the newsletter, doesn't matter whether you have done or you're not done. Okay, the hyphen represent doesn't matter. Okay, you still get a 10% off. So that's the reason the other two things are not something which is very important to be specified as a part of the ticket. Whereas the rule number 3 says explicitly that you do not have a loyalty card, you do not spend anything greater than $1,000 or equal to that, but you have subscribed to the newsletter, then I'll give you 5% off. But if in case you are not subscribed to the newsletter, doesn't matter, you have loyalty card or those things which are not applicable in this case, then you don't get any discount. However, the table looks really great at this point of time comparing to the specification of the questions what we have. But let's look at the question. The question says the requirements are modeled using the following decision table. What problem, if any? Now mind the word, if it is written as if any, that means it is also possible that table is absolutely fine. Okay? With the requirements can you discover by analyzing the decision table? So first of all, try to build your understanding by comparing the information, that is conditions, along with the table provided. If you see anything suspicious, look at it and then look at the option, which would help you to conclude easily that do we have any kind of problem with the data or not. Whereas if I look at the option, it says there is no problem. The decision table models the requirements correctly and there are no anomalies in the requirement. Okay, let's keep it on the safer side just because on the standby, just because we see a statement in the final question that is if any. That means it is possible there are no problems as well. And again, this is not a matter of pure guess. It is just about evaluating the situation. Option B says inconsistency. There is at least one feasible combination of condition for which the specification describes two contradicting action. And I think I don't see any kind of contradiction here. Okay, because the rules are very clear and the table pretty much, presents the rules defined by the question. So I don't see any inconsistency here, or there are no two contradicting actions. 10%, 10%, 5%, and 0%. Whereas option C says incompleteness. There is at least one feasible combination of condition for which the specification predicts no behavior. The 3 behaviors are very much given to us for getting a discount and 1 for not getting a discount. So it's not that the table is missing anything. It has complete information which can be very much justifiable. Okay, because rule 1 and rule 2 have same discount, but these two rules model one business rule. Okay, and the last one is overlapping rules. There are at least 2 action equivalent columns that match the same combination of conditions, and that's incorrect. There are no such contradictions in the table. So with that, we can easily conclude with the right answer here as A, there is no problem. The decision table models the requirements correctly, and there are no anomalies in the requirements. So sometimes it's not that he always has a problem to identify, but again, in the real world or real examination, you can have a problem defined. The question is, did we understand what is decision table, and does it really fulfill the conditions provided by us? Now, many of us can think about why not creating 3 different combinations like 2 raised to 3, 8 combinations, because this is modeling, and modeling is a high-level information, okay, like fulfilling the conditions. So let's not conflict with the technique decision table testing and thinking of why don't we have 8 test cases right here. Okay, even if you are confused, look at the options. Did the option say that we should have 8 combinations here? None of the option is talking about it. That will further remind you that you are in modeling section compared to that of technique applicability. So yes, if in case sometimes we get carried away, the options will guide us to conclude the right answer. Okay. Let's move on to the next question, and the next question is a very straightforward thing talking about match the following. So here we are matching the review techniques description with the correct technique names. So if you see, there are some descriptions and techniques here. So let's start matching. When we talk about reviewers, simulate processes using use cases or activity diagram and may explore beyond documented scenario. Now, 2 things important here, that first of all, they are using use cases or activity diagram, and they are also going beyond the documented scenario. If you try to relate this, we are talking about the technique which is scenario-based reviewing, where we do dry runs as well, and dry runs can be of anything which is not in the documentation, because we look forward to do what if analysis, okay, which means that what if a user does that, what if a user does that, and we look forward to see more beyond the documentation, which clearly signifies that we are talking about scenario-based reviewing. Second, reviewers use fictional personas like the administrators or end users to focus on specific user roles. Now, if you see this is particularly referring to the role-based reviewing, which simply states exactly the same thing, that how this can be achieved with role-based test technique when it comes to static testing. So people are playing different roles and trying to use this technique here, okay? Whereas the third option or third description says unstructured reviewing with no guidance, risking duplicate defects reports. So of course, when we talk about unstructured reviewing with no guidance, one thing comes to our mind, which is very straightforward. That is, it is ad hoc testing. Ad hoc testing is a technique where we don't have any inputs, guidance, instructions, and we look forward to leverage our experience to identify any kind of defects in the documentation. So that certainly goes with ad hoc. And the last one is left out, which is uses predefined checklist. And as the name says, it goes in line with checklist very much. So put together, we can conclude saying that the right answer to this particular question is C. That is, 1 will go to C, 2 will go to D, 3 will go to A, and 4 will go to B. Now look at this, it's very simple. Subjected, we have a good confidence about the definition and the subject. It would be very simple and easy to quickly sort to the response or the right answer. And that's how exactly it can be made simple during the examination. So that's all from this particular tutorial team. Should you have anything else, feel free to comment below. I'm always there to address your queries and answer them well. Till then, keep learning, keep exploring, keep understanding the context. Thanks for watching the video team, and happy learning.